against that Allison, and you didn't beat you but a boat length. I said, well, me too, to be honest.
Okay, so I'm just recording this now so I can make some notes after. Once you download the data, it's going to show up here in Race Studio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're going to click continue. And then Saturday, September 12th is one of the tests that was there. So these are some of the runs that you did with the test hits as well. So if I go, everything on the bottom is what's showing. I'm going to get rid of some of the stuff so that it's not confusing. And we'll just look at
Yeah,
speed here.
Saturday morning early is going to be those test sessions we did.
Yep.
We didn't race it. We didn't race it that afternoon.
So it looks like you did 5 test hits and then maybe some more testing.
Yeah, we tested that morning early. Then we come back and tested. We raced about midday.
Yep.
And then after we got through, then I turned around and we put it back in the water and done some more testing with it.
Sure. So your very last 2 runs were 95 miles an hour. If you go to channels report here, you can see, and then if you scroll around, you can see everything else. But EGT wise, we'll check to see when that was fixed here. So we had 5.
That shows the times, don't it? I mean,
Uh,
does it show the time of day I did that?
yeah, let's see. It was 2 hours after the time of day. It says 8:31 a.m. is when you first started.
Yeah, that's when we tested early.
Yeah. So then after
We
that,
need we need those about 2 o'clock or 2:30 passes.
okay, let's go back here. Okay, so I think these all might have been grouped into one day here. All of these passes. Yeah, so you did 2 passes, sorry. You did 2 passes on Saturday. This is everything from Saturday and Sunday. So you did 4 tests, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 test hits, and then two passes on Saturday, and then you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 test hits and two more passes on Sunday. Okay. And your max RPM, I mean, you got up to 10,501 at the very last one.
That was the last pass I made on Sunday.
Sure.
I
Yep,
just ran
exactly.
those two. I just ran those 2 full passes on Sunday. It should just be 2 from Sunday on there.
Yep, correct. Yep, that's right.
Okay.
So let's,
Those are really the 2 that I want to get a lot of the times. I want to get Saturday too and see if we improved anything.
sure. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to establish me a baseline, then I'm going to go to work between here and Jasper. See if I can improve. I think I can improve it a pretty good bit.
Yeah, I
I
can
know I'll
tell
improve
you.
it.
So I'm moving these 2 runs over top of each other, and you're super consistent, which is good,
Okay.
obviously. But the times, let's see exactly when you went wide open here.
The last pass on Sunday, I had the boy beat. And right there about the finish line, about 100 foot from the finish line, you can hear it on video. But
Sure.
it's kind of like it went kind of like doo doo, and then he wound up coming around and beat me about a half a boat length. I don't know if I hit something in the water. I don't know if I had a glitch in something, but I said this might show up on RPM.
Okay, we'll look at that. Towards the end of the run here. Now the RPM looks kind of normal. what does. Yeah, it looks like there was a blip here where you started to something slow down and then you picked back up, but you didn't
That's that.
actually hit the gas again.
No, I kept wide open, but that's exactly what it did.
Let's see what the trim did. Yeah, right here where it's oscillating like that.
Yeah,
Something happened. You raised the motor, it looks like too, because the water pressure went down.
raised it one click, which is about about almost a quarter an inch.
Sure.
How
Yeah,
much did it go
I
down?
think you hit something. It was at maybe 14 before, and now it's
Okay,
only at 8.
okay,
It's at 8.2 is the max. 8.3.
that's cutting it close, ain't it?
Wow. I mean, to be honest, for that 10 seconds, you don't really need any water at all.
Yeah,
It's not, you're not gonna stick anything. Your temperature is 124 Fahrenheit. That's still fine.
yeah,
Yeah, I can see it in the fuel pressure here. So something like right at the end, something was sloshing around in the fuel tank. I don't know if it's because you hit a wave or something, but the motor seemed to hiccup right at the top at 96 miles an hour.
yeah,
But
yeah. If it hadn't done it, I'd have beat that guy that pass.
mm,
But it did it just a little bit. I said, man, what was that?
how much fuel do you start with normally?
In that class, I started with 6 gallons, and I've got about 4 left in the tank, so it really shouldn't have been a sloshing issue.
Uh, That's weird because the very previous run, you can see these two overlaid, and I'm gonna get rid of everything else other than the speed. I'll get rid of this guy here. So the green and blue is what you're actually comparing. So this is the pressure throughout the run. It's like 54, and then your very last run, it was sloshing back and forth like this, which is
Yeah,
weird. And the run before didn't do that. So I don't know if it's because you're running out of fuel or the sump in the tank was not picking it up or whatever, but yeah, it looked like it was running out of fuel at the end of that run, which is weird because you still have 4 gallons left, which means like the last 4 gallons isn't very usable. So maybe baffling it a little bit more would be better. I'm not sure.
yeah.
Okay, well, let
I've
me
actually
let
got. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say let me send this data to my computer so I can calculate the times for you, and then I'll send you a sheet, like a time sheet, like I did on Friday for these, and you can
Okay.
compare them to those. The main thing, like I'm happy to hear that obviously you were only a length behind the top guys there, and you raced three. It sounds like three of the top guys in the whole series, or that were at
Yeah, I
the
did.
event. So that's good.
Yeah,
But comparing the times from the person that's calculating them and where you start triggering it, comparing the times is obviously you need to be as consistent as possible. So, I mean, sending someone else's data over, I could easily show you how their 7.6 is no faster than your 8.4. It really
yeah. Yes,
depends on where you start. So,
yeah. That's what I told my wife. I said, I don't care what my time on my aim
yeah,
shows. It doesn't really make no difference to me. I mean,
as long as
I
you're
know where.
improving.
Yeah, I know where I'm at. So I want to get my times on Saturday and get it on Sunday on
Sure.
6,200, 4 and 800 foot. And then see where, because we done changes from Saturday to Sunday. I need to see if I picked it up or slowed it down. And then, because I made 2 race passes on Sunday, 2 race passes on Saturday, and then I got something I can compare to when I start testing this week. I'm going back to my other gear case, and I've got this other power head I'm supposed to put back on it because I believe. I mean, I think I can improve this thing 3 to 5 tenths for Jasper. 3 or 5 tenths put me in front. Most of these guys I'm racing against is maxed out anyway. I mean, they may pick up a little bit of that stuff, but shit, if I had my boat together 5 or 6 or 8 years, I'd be top dog too.
Yeah, exactly. 100% agree.
Yep. Yeah, just do that, and then I'm thinking about if I keep having a sloshing problem, I got to figure that out. I was actually going to rig my fuel system up to where I came out of my big fuel cell, came into my fuel pump. Then I was going to run into a little small 1 gallon, like one of the junior dragster fuel tanks,
Sure.
to where you dump in the top and it comes out the bottom. I was
Yep.
going to run fuel from my big tank through a Blue Holly fuel pump into that 1 gallon cell, dump it at the top, and it come out the bottom. Then when it comes out the bottom, runs into my electric fuel pump for my EFI.
Mm-hmm.
Then that way, I would always have gravity fed fuel to my outlets. That way, if I started running, I was going to have a switch put in there, a fuel pressure switch. When my Blue Holly fuel pump lost fuel pressure, it's going to turn a light on my dash, and then all that's going to do is tell me I've got 1 gallon of fuel left in my junior dragster tank. That way, I should never have a sloshing problem in my tank.
Yeah,
I know,
I mean, we use those sometimes. It's like a swirl pot. Drag racers use them in cars a lot just because the
right?
G-force is so high, and
Yeah,
you're just using the small junior dragster tank like a reservoir,
that's right.
effectively. So
And
yeah, it should work.
it's gravity fed because I know the other day I got down up there to about a gallon and a half left, and when I come across the finish line, my green light came on my aim, telling me I was out. My fuel pump was out.
Sure.
No fuel pressure. So yeah, there's some stuff. I need to figure out what that little glitch was. What actually caused that little glitch? Voltage should have been good. My batteries were good and hot, so all that stuff should have been good. Unless
I'm
I don't
looking at
know.
it. I'm looking at it right now. So just clicking on this and you can see like any of the values here. You can look at the temperature and how it started kind of around 100, went up to 108, and then went back down, that type of thing. The voltage,
Uh-huh.
this is interesting. Like it's always close to the top where I don't know if you can see where the mouse is, but the
Uh-huh.
bottom of this I think is 12 and the top is 13. So you always have like 12.8 volts, which is
Uh-huh.
good. And it's not overcharging. It's not going above 13, which is good. Your fuel pressure here, you can see how it's fluctuating and sloshing sometimes. But when you're just cruising around, it's pretty stable. And this is between 45 and 60 pounds. So right at the end here, you can see the pressure actually dropped down. So that's no good. It was below 41 at the end. So it could be because you're running out of fuel pressure, where the run before it was fine.
Yeah.
Water pressure, it's hard to see like this, but let's say 20 pounds between 0 and 20. So you can see as you go faster, you get more pressure. What else? Let's look at the accelerometers because that'll allow you to see at the end of that run what happened. Uh, so at the very end of this run, we have two, -2. I'll set these up now. Yeah, it doesn't really look like a ton happened, but it slowed down right here and then sped up and then slowed down. I can't tell you if it was a wave because the boat slowed down or if it was because of the low fuel pressure, but I think it was the low fuel pressure to be honest.
It sounded just like almost like I turned my key off and I turned it on. I turned it off and turned it on.
Yeah,
It's almost like what
yeah.
kind of felt like, kind of like a weird. I never felt. It almost felt like it was wanting to blow out. To be honest, I had kind of done, but the nose never fell.
Yeah, so
Oh,
okay, this kind of shows you everything. So I know it might be hard to see on the small screen, but this blue line is your speed and you're increasing towards the end. This is the green line is the throttle position. So you're 100% throttle all the way up until here where you back off. But you can see the
okay.
fuel pressure for half a second right at the end. It surges up to 58 and then down to 55. Like this, it shouldn't be doing that. And it's probably surging even more than that. It's just happening really quickly. So
Yeah.
it's weird that that happened, but
You think my fuel pump might be going out?
it's possible. I mean, if we look at the voltage was rock stable here. So that I don't think it's the battery providing the fuel pump voltage. That's not the problem. Your trim, you weren't touching the trim there really.
No.
Um, what else? This is the ECU injector time here. So 3.65 milliseconds, and it's stable across the whole thing. So that's not what was changing. You had 96% on the ECU set for that particular run. So, and we'll look at the EGT. The EGTs are also pretty consistent for that. Like you got a spread between like 1,030 and maybe 930. So about 100-degree spread between all of them. That's not that bad. This is probably after you change the sensor, I'm assuming.
Right, because see on Saturday I was at 98%, and Sunday I went to 96.
Yep, yep.
I think that's right.
Okay.
Then I went to of course I think when I went from to 98 to 96, I picked up 400 RPMs also.
Okay.
I was sitting there wondering how far can I go down with this ECU, because every time I lay it down, it picks up.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, the problem is when you start leaning it down, any fluctuations in the fuel pressure like this, because you're already on the verge of being like on the money for the air fuel ratio. As
Yeah,
soon as the fuel pressure fluctuates, you got really no extra because it's going to be a lean kind of bog, right? That's kind of probably what the motor did at the top end there, because you're lean
yeah,
on the ECU. It might be rich when you first come out of the gate, but towards the top end, it's definitely lean. Like that, the 96 is, it's not lean enough to stick it, but if the fuel pressure fluctuates 5 or 10 pounds, it's going to surge. Like the motor's going to buck and hesitate type thing.
yeah. This thing will lose smoke at 96. This thing will it'll leave a puff of smoke when I take off.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, this is like 10% richer than that super comp curve. So, you could lean it down, but it, it depends on how much you want to test and optimize this. And this is what we're doing now. So, I mean, now we can start going leaner and leaner and dial it in more.
Yeah,
What else can I say here? 30, 20.
well, that's good. At least we got some place to start. That's what I really needed. I've been going to test all day long for late, but we need a place to start, see where we're at.
Yeah.
And like I
So
said,
to,
the numbers really don't matter to me. I mean,
it's
I know
comparing the numbers that's important. Yeah, for
that's
sure.
right.
Comparing the numbers to yourself, not to other people. Because it's like dyno numbers. What dyno was it measured on?
Sure.
Like someone else's 400 horsepower motor, when we put it on our dyno, it makes 350. So it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. The times are what say everything. To give you
Yep.
an idea of the vacuum pump that you want to put on the motor,
Uh-huh.
this orange line here is the manifold air pressure from the map sensor. Okay, so when you're idling there, it's 22.6 inches of mercury. That's how much vacuum, which isn't very much. That's what it's actually. And as soon as you floor the gas here, there's some delay. It's a whole second of delay between when you floor the gas, which is when the green line here goes up, because that's your throttle position. That's the wide
Okay.
open throttle switch. And then the map sensor takes like a second of time to react. Okay. That's not a big deal in circuit racing when you're always floored, but in drag racing, that second, it doesn't actually pour the fuel onto the motor for like a whole second. So if we look at the injection timing, you can see there's a delay between here and here.
Yeah.
What you're doing with the vacuum pump is you're actually artificially adding pressure in the idle range. So as soon as you
Uh-huh.
go wide open throttle, it thinks you're wide open throttle to begin with. So as soon as you whack the throttle and the SVS opens, it already has the fuel it needs. So that's the benefit. And you can see here when you let off the gas, it does the same thing. It takes a whole second of delay before it actually starts to go back to idle, because the whole intake manifold and everything needs to make vacuum. It takes a few engine revolutions to start making vacuum. With an air horn, it's not a problem because they make good vacuum. But with the SVS, you need that vacuum pump to give the motor the fuel when you stab the throttle, and then to take it away when you let off the throttle type thing.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea there.
That's where they're picking up a little bit off the line. Then it's taking that delay out.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, the amount of time where it's lean here, you're still accelerating, but you're not accelerating as hard as you could be, because when you stab the throttle, it takes half a second for the injectors to know that the throttle is stabbed. So that
Yeah.
between here and here, let's see how long that is. 0. 0.4 seconds. So potentially for 0.4 seconds, it's going to have kind of a lean misfire. Not
Yeah.
misfire, but like a bog.
Yeah, that's about what this motor's doing anyway.
Yep.
Brad kept wanting me to call you this weekend and say, hey, we need to get that first fuel, that first mount we had in that first ECU. He said that motor ran better out of the hole than it does with this modified motor on it. I said, well, it does. I said, it had a better. I think you told me it's pulling what did you tell me, 1.69 G's with that center horn and 140 pounds compression. I told
Yeah.
him, I said, I don't think it's doing that right now with 270 pounds compression and an SVS on it.
Yeah, I could go back and compare those times too, but that was stronger. Like the 60 foot on that motor was definitely stronger.
Wonder why. That's what we got to fix. What we need. If I could get that whole shot there back, that's really all I need. I
Yeah,
don't
fair
know.
enough.
I don't know why a center horn and that had 14 pedal reed blocks in it, and I had 140 pounds compression on 93 octane gasoline, and I was leaving harder than I do with the SVS with 110 octane, bigger reed blocks, and then 270 pounds compression.
Sure.
I don't understand that. That don't make no sense, does it?
I agree. The compression will definitely help with the torque off the line, but all of that extra airflow that the SVS and the porting and the larger exhaust chest of the S3000 provides, that hurts your torque. All of that stuff. It helps in the top end, but it hurts below 5,000 a lot, and it hurts definitely the transient throttle. Like when you stab the throttle initially,
Yeah,
that gets hurt a little bit. But the way you make it back is just by dialing in more compression.
yeah.
So it's yeah, it's what's the leak down on the motor? Do you have any idea?
That's it. I hadn't done that yet, but that's what I'm fixing to do.
Yeah,
I
because
come in. I come
it'll
in today.
generate compression, but if it has bad leak down, it won't maintain cylinder pressure.
Yeah, the last time I checked it, well, as a matter of fact, I have not checked this motor, but my other motors would show 2 to 4%.
Sure,
I hadn't already had any to show 2%, but that motor I had on before, it was showing 2% on about 3 cylinders.
because
Most of them,
some of the motors that we port for really top end power, the exhaust ports are so wide that they actually short circuit and leak through the piston wrist pin cavity in the piston. It
yeah,
depends on the design of your piston, but it short circuits and below 5,000 you actually lose torque because
yeah,
it has enough time to actually short circuit the transfer to the exhaust. But
yeah,
above 5,000, it gives you a ton of extra power because the exhaust port's I don't know, 400 thousandths of an inch wider.
right,
So that could be
yeah,
a possibility if your motor, I mean, it's an S3000 block, but depending on the piston design, the leak down will show you that because the leak down is effectively measuring how well the piston is sealing against the wall. The rings are sealing against the piston wall.
right.
So,
And this motor here's got staggered forks in it too. I've never run one of these motors had staggered forks.
yeah, you mentioned that. We do
Don't know
that
that.
too. I mean,
Don't
that's,
know if I
I,
like that or not, but I've never ran one. It might be
yeah,
okay on some round track stuff, but I don't know about what I'm doing.
that's fair. Yeah, you're
This
right.
this motor is fixing to come off. I mean, it's a good motor for a backup motor. But and I mean, I believe you could take this motor right here and win this class. But the way Brad designed this boat should be quicker than any of them out there off the line because the transom has moved in on it.
Okay.
And then I may be giving up a little bit on top end, but man, I've given up the whole shot. And when I went to this other gear case, I actually give up a lot of top end too. You'll see on there. I think it showed. I think I showed 10,485 or something yesterday at 98. I said 96 mile an hour, and I think it was 94 mile an hour on Saturday.
Yep, you did one. So you did 10,100 on Saturday at 95 miles an hour, and then
Okay.
you did 10,486, so almost 10,500, and you didn't pick up any speed. So another 400 miles an hour, and you picked up point 0.4, sorry, 400 more RPM, and you picked up point 0.4 miles an hour, not very much.
Yeah.
400 RPM should give you like 5 miles an hour almost.
Yeah. I went by the little when I hit my memory on my hands.
Yeah,
I just went by what it had showed me. I think it showed on there 94, 96. But these boys telling me that they was running 103, 104 in that class. I don't believe that. They're not that much faster than me. 103, 104 mile an hour, me running 96. They ought to run off and leave me.
yeah, and I agree. The other
So I
thing is,
don't.
it really depends on when you back off. If you back off at 800 feet, or if the boat runs out, if you have a prop and a setup for like a little bit more top end. Like let's
Yeah.
say what you were running before with the 186 gear case, I think, with the 20-inch prop.
The one
That
seven eight.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, the 178. That
Yeah.
might go that might full tilt at 10,500. You might go 104 with that, but
Right.
it won't do it in 800 feet. It'll take you 900 feet to do it,
Yeah.
and not everyone backs off at exactly 800.
Right.
So a lot of guys like that's why the GPS tattletale on like some of the GPS speedometers,
Yeah.
it's telling you the maximum no matter what. It doesn't tell you the maximum in 800 feet type thing.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where the aim system tells you more.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll give us something to go by. And then once I'm really gonna work on this 60-foot time because I know some of my videos, the boat when it with this motor when it comes out, it wants to barely touch and then pick up. And before I was coming out like -20 on my trim, and now
Okay.
I'm coming out at -85. But I shut my off time on my trim computer down to 001, and then I put my own time at 400 when I used to have it at quarter and quarter, you know. So I was trimming later, but right now I'm trimming as soon as I hit my hot foot.
Yeah, I can tell that this is GPS force versus speed here. So you're starting at about 10 miles an hour. I don't know how well they were enforcing that either. Like,
It
could you
this
break
week,
out if you needed to?
yeah, no, this weekend they didn't have the radar set up,
Okay.
so they told us, you know, if we're paired up and we're like what we paired up and we're not just way, it was supposed to be 7.6 mile an hour. They
Yep.
told us, they said, if you, of course, you know, my advantage is coming in lower, but you got one guy on the right hand side trying to charge the lights. I'm not going to let him get that far ahead of me, you know.
Sure.
And so you know, I know one of them times I looked down, I think I was running about over 9 mile an hour, but they let us go, you know. My boat would be easier. I would be better to come in at like at 7.5 mile an hour versus coming in with the Allison at 10 mile an hour, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, no, the trim timer looks like you set it up good. The actual where are we here? This dip was not as bad as all the other ones, and it's carrying all the way to 80 miles an hour. With the 2-to-1 gear case, it carries to 80, and then you can see this knee here, how it
Uh-huh.
kind of plummets off, and it just the other one it wouldn't have as hard of an initial hit, and it'll basically go to 100 miles an hour a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So I'll compare those for you, and you can look at that.
Okay.
The trade off between the 206 gear case and the 178 with the prop selection that you had. Okay. Let me look at this and then I'll send you kind of a document that'll allow you to do this type of stuff in on the bank of the river
Okay. That'll
because
work.
that'll help.
That will help a bunch. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Hey, how's your dad doing?
He's not bad. He's done with his chemo and for now at least, and they're reviewing some test results to see if he can get a lung removal.
Oh, okay.
So that I mean it's a pretty invasive procedure. You're in the hospital for like 6 weeks maybe, but
Yeah.
uh, and they remove one of your ribs so they can get to your lung. They basically cut your chest open and they remove your lung. But if they can get everything out, all the cancer tumor out of his chest, then you could survive the rest of your life on one lung. It's not a big deal. He'll never run a marathon or anything like that, but he'll be
Sure.
able to do his normal life now.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, maybe that'll work out for him. Sounds painful, but maybe that'll work out.
Yep. Well, I
All right,
appreciate
buddy.
you
All
asking.
right.
Thank you. That means a
All
lot.
right. All right. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, man. Let me know.
Okay,
I'm
I'll keep you
probably
updated.
gonna go back and test some tomorrow, so we'll get a little bit more going on. But I gotta get this thing done before Jasper. It's September. It's the second week in October.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
about 3 weeks. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye.
Take it easy.